you for joining us on this rather dark and dismal day, but we will keep the sunshine going because I have in my little studio here in lockdown. And don't forget, I've shown you how you can do this in less than 4 minutes. I show you this as well. Here is Nicola Ryle. Nicola Ryle, thank you very much for joining me on this wonderful day and just joining me and chatting. Welcome, Nicola.
Thank you, Owen. It's an absolute pleasure.
That's great. That's great. And I see you've got a beautiful picture behind you. You've got some flowers behind you. And we're going to be talking today about images versus the written word because Nicola Ryle, in case you don't know her, Nicola Ryle is an amazing social media marketing. Well, you can tell us what you do, Nicola. What do you do for people?
I help their marketing work for them so they produce more sales and they make more money. And I don't care which channel we're talking about, we try to find the right channel to make the most number of sales. So that's where I see marketing working for most people. So we're websites, social media, LinkedIn, ordinary old fashioned brochures, direct mail, email. I don't
Brilliant.
care what the mechanism is, we do it all.
Brilliant. Okay. And you can see on the screen there, it's Nicola Ryle of Brolly Marketing. So you can look her up and so on. So thank you very much for joining me, as I say. Okay, so what I want to talk to you about today, Nicola, is famous song, I think it was, Picture Paints a Thousand Words. Is there a short answer to a short question? Which is most important, pictures or words? Go.
I am so sorry to disappoint you, Owen, but they're both important. So,
Okay.
Google can't read a picture. So it doesn't matter how fantastic the pictures on your website are, is if it can't be found by Google, nobody will get to see them.
Yeah.
So Google can only read. Therefore, you need both on a website and you need both on pretty well all digital platforms. However, that being said, once you've arrived, a visual impression is really, really important. And what is critical is to make your clients or your prospects feel empathy. They must feel that you want them to be there. And so you need to be reflecting them. It's not all about you. It's all about your clients, and therefore the visual imagery you show and the words for that matter should reflect your customer's life and situation, not your own. So
Okay,
that is
because
what's really important.
yeah, because branding, people think it's just the logo, it's just something like that. But branding is far more about that. So, can you explain to you as a marketeer what is branding and how important is that?
Branding is an essential part of your communications because it's kind of what people remember about you, but it also creates your starting point with clients. So when somebody comes to you, they're not a client, they don't know who you are. What they want to be able to do is to see your branding and get a feel for whether you're a contemporary sort of person, sort of business, whether you're reliable, traditional, whether you're warm and friendly. All of those things come through your branding and you give that impression straight off. And that's why the visual elements that you put onto your website, whether that be in video or whether it should be still photography, should reinforce that branding. So if you're putting yourself forward as being a very friendly accountant, don't put pictures of figures, put pictures of people, because that reinforces your brand message.
Yeah, yeah, that's very interesting actually, because when I was in another lifestyle, people know me as the Time Lord. When I was in another dimension in financial services, I started out with a well-known black horse label, shall we say, who are the bank that like to say nay. But when I was working for them in the sales side, it was very interesting that all of the life protection brochures, health protection brochures, what are they about? They're about making sure that you have this policy and people looked after if you die too soon. We used to call it get sick or live too long. But not one of those brochures on life insurance had a graveyard. They had pictures of happy, smiley people and families together because it was trying to tell a message that what if this is broken? What if this chain is broken? And then I was an IFA for many, many years, about 25 years. And it was the same with every company, with life insurance, sickness insurance, so on. It told a different message according to what the product actually was. Is that something you've come across?
I think it's really, really key to show your product making people either happier or more secure. It doesn't matter what your product is, but is it going to improve their life in some way, or is it going to improve their security or the security of their loved ones? So in the case of life insurance, it's making sure your loved ones are looked after if anything bad happens to you. In the case of other products, like a vacuum cleaner, let's choose something really boring and fundamental. But if you've got a really fantastic vacuum cleaner, perhaps it can vacuum the floor without you being there. It's going to give you more time. Your house is going to look beautiful. You're going to look better. Your status is going to be improved. And that's the image you want to give, not a picture of a vacuum cleaner. You want the picture of you feeling fantastic, having used the product or used the service. Yeah. So it's all about working to people's motivation, really.
Yeah, okay. And that's really important, isn't it? So the text, okay, so we can see that through an image. We live in a visual age. And this was once said to some people, to me years and years ago, when we were talking about a certain aspect. They said they lived in a listening age because they lived pre-war and so on, and then they only saw vision and images when they went to the cinema. Even in their childhood, the newspapers, you see it on Sherlock Holmes or whatever old things, you know, the newspapers, these great big things with acres of text, and the images might be a drawing rather than a photograph, the very early one. Then photographs started coming in, but it wasn't tabloids like today. But the text, the copy, is something that people read and then they listened to the radio. We now live in a different age where the imagery is bombarding with us. We live in a fast food, fast satisfaction nation as well, and society. So where does the copy come in? Why is that so important if the image can tell the story?
Well, with the copy, you can tell people what you want them to do. So I could show you a fantastic picture showing somebody very happy having got their vacuum cleaner, but how did that vacuum cleaner get into the house? So you've got to have what's called a call to action. So it says, phone me now, fill in the form now. You can't do that through pictures. You've got to do that through what we would call text, which is dynamic. So that's one very important thing. And the other thing is you actually need to have an emotive response to give them a justification for that purpose. So first of all, you use a lot of what I call you copy, or client-centric copy, which is painting the picture with words of them in this environment. But then there's two other really fantastic words you can use. One is free. So if you buy it now, there's going to be some kind of immediate benefit. You're going to get some add-on or something extra. And the other is now. So you want them to take action straight away, not postpone that decision. And finally, the other word is new. I might want to have a new vacuum cleaner, but I want to have the latest, the best, and all of those things. So those words underline the importance of the visual imagery.
Yeah, it's about aspirational, isn't it? Being aspirational and creating that within people as well. But what I get into as well, and only this week, I was shooting for a client of mine, socially distanced, obviously, responsibly socially distanced. And I was down in Reading, and we're walking through a park, and it was headshots for a client of mine who's a PR agency client and so on. And we went to a bandstand in the park there, and there were two guys, and one guy was training with the other to do, I think it was UFC or boxing or something like that. It looked a bit like a cage, you know, the octagon or whatever of the bandstand. And they were training there, and he was doing some sparring with him and so on. And I thought, this is amazing. And behind the bandstand was a lion. As a memorial, great big lion which you could see through the bandstand. So I got my client just to stand on the front steps of the bandstand. They're looking slightly down at me. I got them in the background boxing and fighting, lion in the background, and to me, and he loved the image because it isn't your standard headshot image. It's an image he's going to use in the future, and it says, as a PR agency, we're fighting your corner. We're going to fight for you, and we have this solidity and this ferocity of the lion, we're about protection, so on, and they're quite a quirky agency as well. And so it was just happened to be in the moment, and to get that image, I went through all the images and I found the boxing shot image that was brilliant with the hand going over the other guy's head and blur motion and so on. And it just captures something. And sometimes I'm finding myself that it's about you're in the moment and you go, this is a good idea, and you just shoot it and it works. But sometimes it doesn't work. Have you got any stories of campaigns or something that you've worked on that really work or stand out that you can think of yourself?
Well, I've got a couple of things to say. One about that story you've got, which is if I was using that image, I would underline it with a caption so that if the client, the prospect, missed the analogy, it would be thumped in their face,
Right.
Literally. So I would use captions. So that's where words enhance the image. So that's a really good thing. Let me then talk about one little war story I got. I had a client come to me. They put in a new website. It looked beautiful. Couldn't understand why it wasn't working. So we had a quick look and we discovered two things. One was it got virtually no words on the website. Now that's what clients want, but it's not what Google wants. So what we did was add some words. Made Google happy, which meant the clients could find that website. And then we did two other things. One is we added captions to the pictures to make it clearer why they were included. And then we added all of those little keywords that I just said, you, new, free, and now, and some calls to action and asked them to fill in the form, and it closed the circle. So it went from not being anywhere on Google, we increased the number of visits fivefold, but it also went from those people who had been visiting weren't doing anything to them taking action, which is fantastic. So it took really fantastic visuals, which were already there, but the addition of the words made it functioning, which is kind of what you want.
So it's basically directing people. It's that subliminal message has sunk in through reading the words and through the imagery, but then it's saying you need this, you need to aspire to this, or we can solve your problems for you, we can make you more secure, as you said, we can make you feel good, or whatever it might be. And that's basically what it's doing. But you increased the reactions by fivefold, which is fantastic.
Absolutely. And also on this website, and you created this video for us, which I shall just give you a quick little plug here, Owen. But they had quite a difficult product because it was competing in a very crowded market, which was to make up pop-up exhibition stands. Now, very difficult to explain why the product was brilliant. But when we videoed it, it showed it dramatically that girls could put it up. You didn't have to be a 6-foot man with a weightlifter. You could do it really quickly, and the result looked fantastic. Now, we couldn't have done that in words. We could only do that in video. So that is how I think the different media work together.
Yeah, and you could do it in stills, but with a lot of words. But in a video, it's just sit and watch this video, and I remember it, 2-3 minutes. You can see somebody putting it up on their own. And you don't need to be a bulky person because it's lightweight, it's recyclable, it's eco-friendly, etc. I remember that. It was a brilliant shoot. That I remember that. Okay,
and we still added some captions to make it better.
Yeah, that's right. So it's them working together, isn't it? And the other thing as well, I would say, is if you're writing anything, doesn't matter whether it be a brochure, a website, a social media post, whatever it is, please get somebody to at least proofread it. Get proofread because you end up with some really. And also, if you're thinking of a domain, please get somebody else to read the domain, because there are some famous instances of domain names suddenly reading something else, which is quite rude. And you can look them up. And please think about that. Please think about domain names. Please think about proofreading copy. And also, one thing I learned, sorry, going on a bit, but when I was doing a lot of media for a not-for-profit organisation, I was the representative on camera and radio and so on, an awful lot. We released articles. I was writing maybe 6 to 8 articles a month, and they're being released. And a journalist editor was editing them. And I, first of all, got quite precious about this and quite offended he'd taken out what I thought were the best bits. But no, No. You need somebody else's viewpoint to read it dispassionately and look at it and really go to town on it and be brutal with it. And the same with video, I'd say, if possible, and this is why you have a director of a film and a producer. And producers of movies do not go on set. They're actually in the background, because you can take half an hour, 2 hours, half a day, 2 days to get a scene. And if you're the person then doing the editing, you've got an emotional attachment to that scene, you won't cut it, because it took so much effort to get it down. However, the producer goes, that's a load of crap, cut, it's gone, it's on the cutting room floor. You need to have this attitude of brutality with your baby of your business, don't you? What would you say to that?
I would say that's a really, really important thing. And I know that it doesn't matter how carefully you proofread something, you will always miss something, because you'll read what you intended to write, not what actually is in front of you. And the other thing is not to be too precious about your opinion of your products. So I've worked with clients who've thought that the most important thing about them is the fact that they've just bought a really nice fleet of vans that come out with their salespeople. So they'll take pictures of the van. Nobody's interested in your vans, mate. And they get very, very upset about this. But actually, what they're interested in is what's in it for them. And you always have to respond to that.
Yeah. Exactly right. Yeah. How do you convince people of that, though?
It's often very hard work, to be honest with you. But what we often do is actually mock up a couple of different brochures and take it round to the sales department and say, take these home and show them to your family, and to ask them which one they like best. And what people will always do for me, which is fantastic, works every time, is that they'll choose the brochure which has got lots of smiling people in them, and they will ignore all the ones which have got product in, typically. So what people respond to, because people buy from people, that's what they're passionate about. It's building that rapport. And we are hardwired from birth to smile at a smiling person. Yeah. Now, when we smile, it produces endorphins, which makes us feel good. And if we feel good, we're more likely to buy. So putting a picture of a smiling person in any of your brochures will increase your response rate every time. Putting the pictures of something that nobody's interested in isn't going to.
And that goes back to the thing about life insurance. They had smiley families on them. Sickness insurance, it had smiley families on them. It didn't have beds, it didn't have graveyards, it didn't have hospitals, it didn't have undertakers. It didn't have anything to do with what the product was about. It had something about aspiration and lifestyle, and everybody's going to be cared for and feel secure. That security again. Absolutely. That has been absolutely brilliant, Nicola. Thank you so much for coming on and seeing us. Can you do this, by the way? The Live Long and Prosper. Almost. I'm going to say,
it's the best I can do, I'm afraid. Yeah. Maybe I can do it on the other hand. I can't do it on the other hand. Oh, yes, I can do it on the other hand. There you go.
Live long and prosper,
I can do it.
Everybody. May the force be with you. Thank you very much for joining us, Nicola, and I will see you another time. Cheers.
It's